The message appeared at the exact moment Sophie Carter thought that evening would pass like any other. Emma was sitting on the living room floor finishing her science homework when her face suddenly went pale. "Mom?" Her voice was so quiet that Sophie had to look up. Emma walked over and held out her kid phone. "I don't think I should be reading this." Sophie took the phone. A second later, her entire body went rigid. It was a screenshot from a family group chat, a group she had never been added to. At the top was an announcement about Diane's birthday party that weekend. Below it was a message that seemed to make the room several degrees colder. "Sophie has embarrassed this family ever since her divorce. I don't want to see her at the party." Several approval reactions appeared underneath. Brandon. Melissa. Even her father had not said a single word in objection. Emma looked up at her mother. Confusion filled the girl's eyes. "Why does Grandma hate us, Mom?" That question hurt more than any insult ever could. Sophie did not answer right away. Deep down, she knew this was not the first time her family had looked down on her. For years, they had seen her as a failure, a single mother struggling to raise a child. What they did not know was that after countless exhausting nights, Sophie had been quietly building a business that was growing more successful every year. But to her family, that truth had never mattered. The only thing they ever saw was a broken marriage. Emma lowered her head. "So, we're not invited anymore, right?" Sophie gently placed the phone on the table. "That's right. Sometimes certain doors close so better ones can open." That night, after Emma had fallen asleep, Sophie sat alone in the darkness. She did not cry. She did not complain. She simply opened her contacts list. One by one, the numbers disappeared from her screen. Her mother, her father, Brandon, Melissa. When the final number was blocked, Sophie felt something unexpected. Not loss. Relief. For the first time in many years, she stopped trying to earn love from people who had never truly wanted to give it to her. 3 years later, Sophie Carter's life had changed in ways no one in her family could have imagined. Not because of luck. Not because of help from the people who had turned their backs on her. Everything had been built through late nights in front of an aging computer and early mornings that began before sunrise. While many people assumed Sophie was simply struggling to survive, she quietly transformed her small consulting job into a thriving business. Former clients referred new clients. New projects kept arriving. Her reputation spread further with every passing month. Emma grew alongside those changes. The little girl who once cried after being ignored by relatives had become an exceptional student. Confident, intelligent, and always proud of her mother. One autumn evening, as the two of them sat down for dinner, Sophie's phone rang. An unfamiliar number. She almost ignored it. Then a voicemail notification appeared. The familiar voice made her pause. It was Diane. Sophie. I miss you. We should talk. It's been a long time since the family has seen Emma. Sophie quietly stopped the recording. No emotion. No surprise. Because earlier that very morning, a local business magazine had published an article about her company. For the first time in years, Sophie's name appeared on the front page. 2 days later, Brandon sent a message. Melissa unexpectedly asked about Emma. The people who had vanished from her life were suddenly returning all at once. Emma looked at the phone screen and then at her mother. "Do they miss us?" Sophie smiled softly. It was no longer the sad smile she used to wear. "No. They just remembered our success." At that exact moment, a new email appeared on her screen. Sophie had been nominated for Businesswoman of the Year. She stared at the words for a long moment, then slowly took a deep breath. She had no idea that her family was preparing to step back into her life. And this time, everything would be different. The awards ceremony arrived sooner than Sophie Carter had expected. The auditorium glowed beneath bright stage lights, filled with the sound of lively conversations. Emma sat beside her mother, her small hand tightly wrapped around Sophie's. Even though she had prepared herself for this moment, Sophie could still feel the atmosphere shift the moment she entered the hall. At the back of the room, Diane was standing there. Brandon and Melissa were beside her. The same people who had not appeared in her life for 3 years. The same people who had once treated her as the family's embarrassment. When Sophie's name was announced, the entire room erupted into applause. She walked onto the stage beneath the dazzling lights. In that moment, she saw Emma smiling. That was what mattered most. Sophie stepped up to the podium. Her voice was calm, 3 years ago, my daughter asked me a question I will never forget. Why don't our relatives want us in their lives? The room fell silent. Sophie never mentioned anyone by name, yet every word carried the weight of truth. She spoke about the years of being underestimated, being looked down upon, and the journey of learning to respect herself. When the speech ended, the audience rose to their feet in a standing ovation. Emma wiped away tears. Diane lowered her head. For the first time in many years, she could find no excuse. But the real surprise came the following day. Diane appeared at Sophie's front door. She looked exhausted. Brandon was facing massive debt after a failed business deal. They needed help. They needed money. Sophie looked at the woman who had once abandoned her. Then she glanced at Emma, standing quietly behind her. Suddenly, she understood that this was no longer a story about forgiveness. It was a story about boundaries. You decided a long time ago that I was no longer family. Her voice was gentle yet unwavering. So today, I choose the same. The door closed. No anger, no resentment, just an ending that should have happened years earlier. For the first time in her life, Sophie felt completely free. Thank you for staying with us through Sophie's journey. Sometimes the deepest wounds do not come from strangers. They come from the people we trust most. But this story is also a reminder that your worth is never defined by someone else's rejection. Sophie lost the approval she spent years chasing, yet she gained something far more valuable: self-respect, peace, and the freedom to build a life on her own terms. What would you have done if your family turned their backs on you and only came back when you succeeded? Would you forgive them, or would you walk away for good? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy emotional family drama stories with powerful life lessons, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story.